Hello and welcome to Timm's BMW Repairs and Information. The 840Ci is back on the drive and is driving. Yes, it's driven it 3 times in the last 7 months. Yeah, it's taken 7 months from the accident to this point. Yeah, it's been a long old journey. Haven't got the Rondel 58s on it at the moment because temperature here is 1 degree and we know the performance of summer tyres falls off at about 7 degrees. So yeah, might as well keep those on while it gets colder and colder. Might have snow later on in the week as well. So yeah, I'll keep those on, but I don't like them at all. They're horrible looking MV2s, ghastly things. But they have got winter tyres on and that should help me. Right, so we're all back, and I think what we'll go through today is we'll quickly go through what happened, insurance, body shop, mechanics, how we got to this part, and I'll tell you exactly how much money I've spent getting this car back on the road, because as you know, it's written off by the insurance company. So in real terms, how much has this cost me personally? Because of course I got some money from the insurance company, but nowhere near enough to actually do the repair. So, okay, I mean, we'll have a look around the car first, just to check everything's okay. It is, yeah. We got a few little snags that need sorting out that the body shop's going to sort out. Apart from that, it's lovely. So let's have a quick look around and we can then go through all the problems that have occurred and how much it cost. Right, let's have a quick look around at the car. Yeah, it's looking pretty good at the moment, that's for sure. Yeah, apart from the MV2 alloys, but we'll sort that out when it warms up a bit. Yeah, this is the side which wasn't damaged, so looks very nice still. Little blooms still appear now and again, which is the overspray from the body shop, but I'll polish it all over with Zano 2 and that will get rid of all of those. I'll do the whole car from front to back. Wears you out a bit, but it's well worth doing. Zano gives you a lovely hard finish and that's nice. Yeah, maybe a bit of Zano 8 afterwards if you can get hold of it. Yeah, this boot is slightly out of line. As you can see, it's slightly lower on the left than it is on the right, but the left hand bump stop is fully out and the right hand one is fully in and it's still a bit crooked. Yeah, you've got to have a good look at it to notice that. Yeah, this is the damaged side, of course. My fuel filler flap is now perfectly straight because I've got the actuator working, which I did before it went to Lee. And yet this is the damaged side. What a difference that's made, hasn't it? Crikey. The amount of damage caused there was absolutely substantial. It was just mashed in something awful. And of course the rear suspension damaged as well. But no, it is looking absolutely great. I do love the look of it. And the colours are all right everywhere. I mean, Mora Metallic is so forgiving anyway. Not like silvers that you get a slight change in colour and you can see it a mile away. Fortunately, Mora Metallic is absolutely easy to respray, so no problems at all. And anyway, the paint is actually spot on, so I don't need to worry there. The interior, I've tidied it up a bit. I've had the leather cleaner out. I've cleaned the instrument cluster, so that all looks perfect. Yeah, it looks lovely. Yeah, no damage done apart from the headliner, which we talked about last time. Headliner is now sagging all the way from the sunroof down to the rear window. Yeah, I need to clean that carpet. Yeah, I should have done that before I did the video, but there you go. Anyway, yeah, it is looking absolutely fantastic. My ashtray is back in, of course I repaired that. Rear seats, I had a little sticky bit on the centre part. Got that off with some Goo Gone stuff, so that's all polished again afterwards. Well, leather cleaned anyway. But yeah, it's looking fine and everything's working. Radio code's back in the radio, so that works. And the heating is so much better than the E64. Get about a mile and you're boiling hot already, just the way I like it. All the windows are working, as you'd expect. Yeah, you couldn't use the right hand side windows after the crash. Yeah, there's my headliner. It's actually looking not too bad because it's all come down. When it was just one little lump, it looked awful, but as it's sort of all smooth all over, yeah, that doesn't worry me too much at the moment. I will do it. So there you go. Yeah, the car's looking Absolutely fantastic. Really pleased. The interior is not damaged at all, and that's very important to me, that the interior is still spotless. As I say, I've cleaned it. I used leather cleaner, and yeah, it's looking great. I'm so happy to be driving the E31. It's taken so long, 7 months since the accident. Yeah, so we'll go through exactly what it's cost me in terms of time and money, and quite a lot of money has changed hands, I'll tell you that for nothing. So let's start at the start, shall we? So yeah, my friend Lee Shannon, who owns a garage, was driving the car on a test drive, and he got T-boned by another driver. And I thought that'd be fine, the car's insured for £30,000 through Adrian Flux. Problem was, it wasn't my insurance, it wasn't Lee's insurance, it was the third party's insurance, and they just said no to everything. And after months of messing about, I managed to get it up to £20,000 payout, but I'd have to buy the car for £6,000. So we're talking round numbers anyway. So yeah, 20 grand for the car, £6,000 to buy it back. And of course it's now category N, 1,400 quid required to do the repairs. So the body shop estimate was about £8,000, which left me £6,000, but the original estimate from Lee was about £10,000. And that's because of so many parts that needed to be replaced. Because of course they damaged the subframe, the rear subframe. Here's a bit of video of me looking at it at Lee's when it had come out. Yeah, that's pretty bendy, isn't it? Yeah, that's where all the energy went when the car was hit from the side. Of course, the wheel went backwards and outwards, and that pushed the wishbone into the subframe, and it just crumbled there. Now, it may look in the original pictures like the subframe had no strength in it, but it had a lot of strength in it. It just had so much energy put into it. Now, with that much energy, you can say, well, probably the bearings and the bushes and the arms are probably bent. And so that was the reason for the really high estimate. So, yeah, that was about £18,000. And of course, I was given £14,000, so it was going to cost me some money somewhere. So that was quite expected. But of course, at the body shop, now most body shops said no, they're not interested at all. But at least C&S Coachworks, a local place, they said, yeah, they're quite happy to do the repair. And it was an extensive repair as well. So it was a new door, rear quarter panel. In fact, everything from the front of the front door to the back of the wing, that all had to go, that all had to be replaced. And of course, everything has to be removed to do it, like the boot or trunk and all the lighting and the looms and everything like that. So it's a huge job. Now, during their work, they said, well, the seals have had it. So, yeah, might as well just replace the seals. In for a penny, in for a pound, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, the seals got replaced, both sides. So that was additional work. So that bumped it up to about £10,500. So with Lee's original estimate, that was about £21,000 or so, which was obviously a lot more than the £14,000 I was getting from the insurance company, plus the pleasure of it now being a category N. Okie dokie. Body shop did a great job. Looks absolutely lovely. Few niggles, but I'm not going to go into those there. I'll go into those in a later episode. Yeah, a few niggles with the body shop, but as a whole, they did a fantastic job. And it was all straight and true and everything. Fantastic. But I still couldn't drive the car, of course, because the rear wheel was sticking outwards. And you tried to drive it and it would just go round the corner all the time. Not only that, of course, I lost the insurance immediately. As soon as it was declared a write-off, it couldn't be insured until it had an MOT. So, yeah, the next stage was important, which was Lee doing his work. Now, at £10,500 for Lee's work, that was getting a bit expensive. So I decided to buy quite a few bits and bobs from the community, the E31 community. The great start that I had was buying a whole rear axle from an E31 from Theo, Lovely bloke. I've bought a few other bits and bobs from him since. He owns an E31 and he had a whole rear axle left over, including the differential shafts and the hubs and all the rest of it, which was fantastic because maybe the hub was damaged on the damaged wheel side. Didn't matter, I had all the parts. But not only having those parts meant that I could take off the wishbones, and instead of buying new ones, which of course you can't because they're not available anymore, I could send them off to someone to refurbish them. 2 people, well, 3 people I know do it now, which is Wolf, which is Wok in Germany. We've got Jerry, who's Phoenix Motorsport up in Camberley, lovely bloke. And also, I think V12 Throttle will at least do the bushes, which is something, that's good. So those 3 places were, one bit I missed out with the body shop, of course, because the car was hit on the driver's door. That damaged the driver's door handle. And of course, as we know, you can't get them from BMW anymore. Fortunately, Jerry Speechley from Phoenix Motorsport came up with it again. He came up with the whole pivot and all the rest of it. So yeah, thank goodness for Phoenix Motorsport because they came through fantastically. The other thing for the suspension, we'll go back to the suspension. So I managed to send off the upper and the lower wishbones. So the upper wishbone is called an upper wishbone. The lower wishbone is called a cross member. So 4 altogether, 2 upper, 2 lower. They all went to Jerry Speechley at Phoenix. He replaced all the bushings in there, which is handy because, of course, I could send him those parts from the spare axle I had in my front garden, which I took apart. And by the way, it's always best to take apart a rear axle when it's on the car, because when you've got it in your garden, it just flops around and you can't undo the nuts on it. Other missing thing, of course, which you can't get anymore, is the eccentric bolts. Now, the eccentric bolts no longer available from BMW. I thought it was smart, and I chose some very like eccentric bolts from newer models, and 14mm they are, 14 and 12, and they came up as 14 and 12, and they're the wrong size because E31 eccentric bolts are actually 13mm and 11mm, not 14 and 12 as it says on real OEM. So who fixed that? Yeah, it's Wolf. Yeah, Wolf from Wok BE. He had eccentric bolts. I bought all of those, so that was fine as well. Cross member, yeah, the actual rear subframe, of course, is £3,500 from BMW. I'm sure you can still get them. And I've got 2 of them. Yeah, I've got one with the rear axle that I got from the E31. And before I got that, I bought a cross member from eBay. You join me here on a beautiful English summer's day, which means it's pouring down with rain and about a storm force 4 as well. Yeah, now and again I get cold water chucked down my back and all over this, which is a rear axle carrier for my BMW 840Ci. What am I doing in my garden with it? Well, of course, being English, I've painted it with black hammerite, as we always do with anything that's slightly rusty, out with the black hammerite and we'll paint it. It had a slight bend on the handbrake doofer, but a bit of black hammerite, that sorted all of that out. And yeah, that was fine. But of course, once I got the new, the rear axle from the E31, complete with everything, I took all the arms and the wishbones and all the rest of it off, and I used that subframe in the end, so I black hammerited that as well. And yeah, when you go under the car now, it does look rather like the ones you see on bimmerforums.com, where they've dropped the whole rear axle just for something to do. Yeah, not interested in taking 2 years to do it. I want it done as soon as possible. 7 months is a very long time in the end to do the whole job. Of course, Lee's part was quite a small amount of time, apart from the time you spent hanging around, which is always a problem, hanging around for insurance companies, hanging around for estimates, then the body shop, and then you've got to book yourself back into Lee's again, and I think it's a couple of months before it could go into Lee's. So we stretched it out over 7 months. But the underneath looks lovely now. Yeah, all okay, because not only did Lee do the work, he also did a bit of rust proofing here and there. So that's fantastic. The front end, yeah, the front carrier which holds the radiators on, that looks awful. But I've got equipment to do that now. I'm going to stick it up on ramps. I've got a full face mask and all the whizzy wheels for getting the rust off. And what am I going to use? Yeah, black hammerite. That'll make it just as good as new. I'm absolutely sure of that. After Lee did all of his work, he got it MOT'd and it passed with no advisories at all, which is a bit strange because the chip in the windscreen didn't mend itself, and nor did the rust underneath the radiator hanger. So who knows? Anyway, MOT, no advisories at all. And of course, as soon as I got MOT, I could insure it. And how much extra did the insurance company ask for it being a category N? Nothing. No, it was fine. It didn't make any difference at all. The insurance company who actually do the underwriting didn't care if it was a category N. It's only the bent, destroy categories that they worry about. A rebuilt, slightly squashed car, not too bothered at all. So yeah, I've done that with the insurance company. It's insured. Only problem is after the MOT, it had to be all the wheels aligned, and the fronts couldn't be aligned because the track rod ends had seized. And as you'd expect after all these years, and in a salty country at the moment, they're just chucking salt everywhere because it is 1 degree C at the moment, so it's a bit chilly. So yeah, they didn't work. So it's another day to change the track rods. So I've got nice, lovely new ball joints at the front end, which is great. And then align it again, and it's aligned perfectly. And not only did Lee align the wheels, he also aligned the steering box. So in that case, you lock the steering box, and the steering box has got a line on it which tells it where it's dead centre. You then align the wheels, and then you take the steering wheel off and you align that. So yeah, absolutely everything is aligned nicely, and it drives straight as a die. It really does. Driving the 8 Series after so many months of driving the 6 Series, I've forgotten what the 8 Series was like. You would have thought, oh, it's going to feel terrible, but it doesn't. It feels absolutely spot on. Yeah, straight as a die now. Yeah, fantastic drive to work. I was a bit nervous, to be honest, when I drove it back from Lee's house. The first time I'd driven it in 7 months. And those roads around Bentley are terrible, awful roads, all bumping up and down and thin, and things come flying towards you. It was a bit scary, to be honest. But when I went to work on Friday, yeah, it was just like being back at home. It drove lovely, just as much power as usual, because of course the engine hasn't been run up to temperature for 7 months. So you've got to be quite careful. So I didn't give it all the beans, apart from when I came home again and I gave it the full beans. So I was glad to report that it is lovely and full of power still. So, okay, so we've got an MOT'd, an insured car, which drives straight as a die. Still on the winter wheels, of course, because it is winter. And yeah, 1 degree at the moment. And it's going to get colder next week. So if it gets really cold, I'll take the E31 to work because it's got winter wheels on it. I was thinking I'll take the winter wheels off, put the Rondel 58s on, put the winter wheels on the E64. That's a lot of moving around if you ask me. And at 64, I just can't be bothered. I'm quite happy to keep the winter wheels on the E31 for a while. And when it warms up, I'll get the Rondel 58s, which are newly refurbished. Look $1 million, thanks to a place that Richard, that's Lee's friend, recommended up in Basingstoke. Yeah, they look absolutely fantastic. I was a bit worried that they couldn't copy the finish of a Rondel 58, but no, it absolutely perfect. They look like they did when they're brand new. So I bought the Rondel 58s brand new from a little place in Wales. At the very end of the run of brand new Rondel 58. So I know what they look like new. So yeah, look absolutely perfect. Very pleased with Rondel. So I'm looking forward to when it warms up, probably February or March. I'll swap the tyres over, give the undercarriage a good cleaning off to get all the rust off. But to be honest, I drive the car all year round, whether it's salty or not. There wasn't much corrosion. Seals are a goner, but you expect seals to be a goner on an E31 at this point in its life. But the rest of the underside of the car was lovely. So I've really got no worries about driving it in the salt. I'll give it a quick wash down after when I change the wheels, but I'm not going to worry about it, and I keep driving it in the winter because it needs to be used. I mean, it's had 7 months of it hasn't been used, and it needs to be back out on the road again. The only thing I've noticed with the engine is that it doesn't reach temperature. It reaches just about towards the middle, but not quite there. So the thermostat's got a slight leak to it. I need to sort that out. It doesn't overheat, it just sits on the drive, which it did today while I was working on polishing the car and cleaning the leather. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't go over temperature. It's no problem at all. So the thermostat opens, it's just stuck slightly open, which is a bit of a nuisance. But I'm very glad to report it was still hot as toast on the drive there and back to work in the sub-zero temperatures, and you could cook a sausage on the vents, which you can't do on the E64. It never really gets to a point where you think, oh, it's a bit hot. Oh, lovely warmth. In fact, I'll turn that down a bit. It's a bit overpowering now. Not with the E31. It's a bit hot by the time you've gone about a mile. Yeah, it's lovely. It's great. Fantastic place to be in, the E31 is. Ambient lights on, changing gear with a Steptronic, all the instruments lit up. It's absolutely fantastic place to be. I so enjoy driving the E31. Okay, so total cost. Let's put up the spreadsheet that I worked through. I'm sure I've missed a few little bits and bobs off, but the bottom line is I haven't spent any money over the insurance. I've been so lucky that the car could have been repaired completely under insurance, but only if I did all the work of getting the axle and the subframe and all the arms and wishbones and trailing links and all the rest of it. That's where I saved all the money. Eventually I saved £7,000 by getting all the second-hand stuff, and I've spent about £2,000. So spending £2,000 worth of money saves you £7,000 worth of cost when you're actually repairing the rear subframe or rear axle. So yeah, my rear axle, not only has it got all of that done, of course it's got new bearings, new wheel bearings, differentials been sorted out and all the rest of it. It's a better car. Oh, of course, brake lines and fuel lines. Yeah, they were replaced at the same time. So Lee said, well, the subframe's out. You might as well change the brake lines and the fuel lines. Now, I can't quite remember what Lee said. I think one of the two you have to bend yourself because it's so long. And one of them, it comes pre-bent and you can just pop it up there. Well, you say pop it up, it's difficult to get it up through the engine. Past the engine, as Lee told me all about it. He's pointing it all out. I've got all the video of that, and I showed Lee pointing that out. One of the two, brake pipe or the fuel pipe, came just as a straight length of pipe, so Lee had to copy the pipe that came off. So the pipes had to come off before he put the new ones on, obviously, but he got them off, put them on the ground, put all the bends in them and so on, refitted, and also the pipe for the vent and the charcoal canister and stuff like that. They looked like they're made out of twiglets. They really did. They're all puffs and pops of rust all over them. And that was an MOT advisory in the last, 8 MOTs, I should think. They're all lovely and new. They come with a coating, apart from parts of it, which then Lee put some covering on them to stop them going rusty. So it's absolutely, all the exhaust as well. Keep forgetting all sorts of bits of work that Lee did while he's there. He replaced all the clamps on the exhaust. That was another MOT advisory that the clamps were failing. So yeah, it's got all new clamps from about the cats, in fact, probably before the cats, all the way back to the rear boxes. They're all new clamps, and so it's not going to flop about or drop off like it had a possibility of doing before. So that's all nice and new and shiny. It does look lovely under the car now, I must admit. Now, what I think I'd do is I'd do a separate video for the rear suspension. So if you're thinking of refurbing the rear suspension and so on, I'll do a video complete about that and all the prices, because there's so many nuts and bolts and little plastic bits and arms, like dog legs and so on, all the rest of it, drop links, trailing links, all the rest of that. I'll take that on in another video, and we'll go through absolutely every part of the rear suspension that needs to be replaced if you're refurbishing it, how you get it down, how it's best to do it, which nuts to take off first. We'll go through all of that, but it's much too long for this video. I think this video has probably gone on long enough. Really, this video is just a short one to say, yeah, I'm back on the road. You'll see me out on the A3 most working days. So give us a wave, give us a hoot if you see us. Anyway, I hope this video was interesting to you. Put the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I love that. Keep the comments coming. Of course, I love all the comments. Read absolutely every single one. Reply as soon as I can. Anyway, put the thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing and all the rest of it. Keep the comments coming. And I'll see you in the next one.